Recording. All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the North Middlesex Regional School District School Committee for Monday, July 25th, 2022. Also, as a reminder to the committee and those in attendance that this meeting is being recorded. We'll go ahead and do the roll call. Dave, not here. Jess?
Yes.
I see June.
I didn't hear you say my name, sorry.
I don't see Lisa or Mike. Randy?
Yes.
I don't see Susan. Tom?
Here.
And I am here. Our next meeting is going to be held on Monday, August 1st at 7 p.m. and I'll talk a bit more about that meeting during my chairperson report. First on the agenda, we have the consent agenda with approval of minutes, payroll warrants, accounts payable warrants, donations, excuse me, and also the disposal of surplus property. I'll take a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Tom and June. Jess?
Yes.
You?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so that is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Next up is public communications. We did not have any residents wishing to speak. Thank you, Robin. So next on to the chairperson's report. So regarding our August 1st meeting, that is a special meeting that I called for, again, next Monday. It'll be held at Ashby Elementary School in the library. We may have the ability for folks to listen remotely. Not guaranteed, also not guaranteed with the quality of that. It may just be a phone on the table, but we're looking into that. The intent is really to have people in person for that meeting. The intent is really to have an open conversation between the school committee and Ashby town officials, as well as permit public comment from residents. And the topic is going to be Ashby Elementary School. We've had a series of reports that we've reviewed, looking at the condition of the building and what needs to be done with that facility. So the intent of this meeting, again, is just to have an open conversation about those reports and the findings and what the next steps are. We're not going to be voting to close the school or anything like that. That's not really the topic of that discussion. And we have not really taken that decision under advisement at this level yet. So again, it's kind of an initial open conversation. We're also going to try to tour the building as well, so folks can see what we're talking about, see what's been cited in some of the reports. So that'll be next Monday's meeting. Any questions from the committee on that or superintendent?
Craig, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, I did just want to add, just the remote aspect is likely going to be listen only. I don't think that we're going to have the ability to have participation remotely.
Okay.
So I know we had one school committee member who may not be able to be in attendance, but I think that we'll at least be able to have that person be able to listen and not participate, I guess.
Yep. Okay. June, you got your hand up.
Do you think we're going to have enough room in the library to have the full school committee and town leadership and parents that may want to be in attendance? I'm thinking we might be better in the gym or even the cafeteria, but probably the gym would be the most accessible for everybody.
Yeah, June, I was concerned about that myself, so I called the school today. And they said the library would, is the best bet, but Brad and I were talking about the same thing. So I'd imagine there's going to be a good attendance. So whatever you think is best.
I honestly think that we should be reaching out and having them set up the cafeteria. I mean, not the cafeteria because of accessibility issues, but I do think that we should be having they essentially be utilizing the gym. I think that makes more sense. I think if we, just with the school committee, the Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, we could end up with 20 people just with town officials and school board. And I think we would be very, very tight in that library, leaving very little room for anyone else.
All right, I'll update the agenda and coordinate it. I'll take care of the logistics.
And also, Robin, if we could pull off anything else on the agenda, I really want to keep it focused to just Ashby. I know Superintendent, you'd asked about a consent agenda item. I think that's fine, but in terms of discussion, I just want to keep it focused to Ashby because we have another meeting coming up on the 15th anyway.
On August 15th?
Yes. Do we not?
I didn't think so. I thought the next meeting was September 12th.
Oh, I thought our August meeting was on the 15th.
I don't know.
Okay, we can,
I'll
And
look.
it's what our calendar says. That's what I looked at.
that's what I checked as well. When you asked me, Randy.
I was on vacation last week, so maybe I'm
Sure.
still in vacay mode.
All good. But yeah, I again want to keep that agenda kind of focused on Ashby as much as possible. And then I guess June, just, and I'm assuming you've already done this or they're aware, if you can just make sure that if you wouldn't mind making sure that the Board of Selectmen and FinCom and Town Administrator, anyone else over there that should be in attendance is aware. If you could do that, I appreciate that.
Yep, I've reached out.
Thank you. All right, that's all that I had for chairperson report. Superintendent, on to your report.
Sure, just very quickly, and it does go along with the Ashby piece. I did reach out today. I know Nancy Haynes did as well to the Collins Center. Again, they are very, very far behind. And I did ask them to do anything that they possibly could to get us a draft of their final report in advance of Monday night. I asked him to get that to us by Thursday. And he basically said he would do the best he could, but would not make any guarantees, but he is going to work to try to get us a draft of that final report. Again, when he says draft, there may be some typos and things of that nature, but I do think that we should have something in hand at this point, going over the entire facility study for the school district, because right now, all we have is the document that Habib and Associates did back in 2020, which everyone's telling us to add 40% to those costs just because of the cost of materials. And then we have what I would consider to be an unofficial study that was done by Perkins Eastman, just as another set of eyes who came in and looked at some options for the school as well. But the Collins Center report is crucial. I think that we need to get that document in the hands of the school committee, in the hands of the town officials, so that we can make some educated decisions. I did look, I shouldn't say look, I had some contact with people who deal with MSBA on a regular basis. And last year there were 57 applications for school building projects in the state, and 16 of them were approved. So it was very difficult to get approval last year for school buildings. And again, I think if that's something that we're going to do, we need to start moving in that direction. If that's the decision come Monday night, so the school committee can make an informed decision, and then we can potentially bring it to town meeting if need be, if we want to move forward and get the process moving, because there are some decisions that have to be made sooner rather than later, with the wing, the oil tank being removed, and the boiler that's down. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Brad. Even scanned in copies of their notes, I think, would be acceptable at this point. So
Yes.
I'm not typos in.
We will continue. That they lost their business person. So they brought someone else on board. And when I say business person, the person that essentially looks at the numbers and helps out with the final plans. And that person is on board now. They were brought on board about a week and a half ago. And I do think that they're working hard to get it done. But at this point, time is of the essence.
Yep. All right. Thank you. June.
Yes, just a quick question. I did hear that Ashby Elementary has a grade that with one classroom that has 31 students at this point. Is that being broken up? I know we had originally budgeted for it and then the teacher was taken out of the budget, and I'm just wondering where we're at with that, please.
So right now, honestly, I'm holding off on any decisions because it was my understanding that Varnum Brook had a huge influx of students in the past couple of weeks as well. And from what I'm hearing, they have multiple sections at 27 and 28. We did that position was removed because we had to cut the budget by $300,000 to get it passed in the towns. So at this point, it's something that we can certainly look at, but we don't have, I think finding the funds is going to be difficult. And that one section in Ashby may not be the only section that's a problem in the school district, because it does look like we may have a couple of issues at Varnum Brook as well, with classes approaching 30 there. So again, I think we're gonna have to sharpen our pencils, look at what we have for numbers, but there really was not a lot of flexibility in this year's budget after we cut that $300,000. So at this point, I think, probably gonna have to wait until the August 15th timeframe to make a decision, so that we're not adding and then having something change with those numbers and then having to move the position to another school. And again, it's going to be finding the money, because even a teacher at step one with benefits, you're looking at about $100,000. And I will say the principals have done a great job this year with hiring. The majority of the staff that they've hired are coming in on relatively low steps, but there are also positions that we cannot hire on low steps because of a lack of candidates. There's definitely a squeeze, I would say, with finding good candidates. People, jobs that used to have hundreds of applications, social studies and physical education. I have superintendents reaching out to me, asking me if I have any candidates that I could send their way. And those positions used to be highly sought after, and they're not anymore. So it's difficult finding staff. So again, I think we'll do the best we can. But at this point, I think we have to wait a little bit longer to make sure that we don't put ourselves in a budget situation that's extremely difficult for the entire school year with no flexibility.
Thank you. So we'll get that on the agenda for the August 15th then, and chat through where we're at and what the options are at that point.
Sure.
All right, and then real quick, just kind of backtracking a bit, I neglected to welcome Dr. Bourbeau-Rees to, I guess, your first official school committee meeting. So welcome aboard. I don't know if you want to say anything, but happy to have
Just
you.
thank you. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to working in the communities.
Excellent. All right. Next is the superintendent evaluation. I've got the summary evaluation that I sent out to everybody. Hopefully folks had a chance to read through that. I don't know if I didn't get any questions back. So hopefully everybody was good with kind of the consolidation of the comments. Most of them were pretty consistent, and where they weren't, it was just an addition rather than a contradiction. So I tried to incorporate most of I guess what I felt was relevant to the evaluation. So if folks want me to read through it, I'm happy to do that. If you have any specific questions, we can target those. Or I can take a motion to approve it as presented if folks are good with what's in there. We've done it differently every year that I've done it, so I'm happy to take it any path you guys want.
No questions. Happy to move to approve the superintendent's evaluation for the 2021-2022 school year.
I'll second.
All right, it's Tom and Jess. Thank you. Any questions or comments on the evaluation? So I will just, for the benefit of the attending public or anyone watching this recording at a future date with their bowl of popcorn. So the committee rated the superintendent as having met the three areas, which are professional practice, student learning, and district improvement. Those three goals were all met. And then the specific areas around the performance standards, instructional leadership, management and operations, family and community engagement, and professional culture were rated proficient. And then the overall rating was also proficient. And then if you recall, we had some preliminary ratings at our last meeting and already voted on the salary increase that's tied to the proficient rating. So that was taken care of last time, but congratulations, Superintendent Morgan, on another good year. I think on behalf of the committee, we all kind of appreciate everything that you've done, and another difficult year. Hopefully, knock on wood, that this coming year won't be anywhere near as difficult as these past few have been. I think we're hopefully coming out of some very difficult years, but I appreciate your persistence and perseverance to get us through this and keep the focus on the kids and the students in the district and keeping the staff happy as well. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. And I just obviously want to thank the entire school committee. I'm very blessed to have your support. And overall, I look at the evaluation honestly as a district evaluation. I'm very lucky to have the team that I have in place. Essentially, it would not be possible without the building leadership, central office leadership, and the entire staff. So again, very, very lucky to have a supportive school committee and a supportive staff and just a great team. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody else, any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, this is to approve the evaluation as presented. Jess?
Yes.
June?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And I will vote yes, so that is unanimous. Thank you for that. Next up, we have the update on our school committee goals. Randy and Randy, I guess, since Lisa's not here.
So looking back in October of 21, I believe, Lisa and I had brought 2 school committee goals that were accepted for this past year. Those 2 goals were one, we were going to do a quarterly newsletter, and that was assigned to Mike, which unfortunately did not get completed this year for some obvious reasons with his health the way it is. So our recommendation for that one is to continue it and have it assigned to somebody else if they would like to. But the whole idea of the quarterly newsletter was to kind of sum up our school committee meetings and decisions that we're making, and trying to have a little bit more communication with the public about what we are doing. The second was to do a retreat for the school committee and kind of try and kick off something that we're going to do annually. And that was assigned to both Craig and myself. And unfortunately, neither one of us have had the time to really get together and do a lot of planning for this. So again, I'd like to put that one forth again. I have been trying to carve out some time to at least get my thoughts together with that and find time with Craig. We still have time this fall, if possible, to get something together for a retreat for us.
Thank you, Randy. I agree. It's everyone's busy, myself included, and I think this is the professional development aspect for us as a committee is important. So I agree, Randy. I think if you and I and anyone else who's interested can find a way to make something happen, at least in the fall or beginning part of the school year, I think that's going to be important for all of us as a group as we move forward. But yeah, so apologies for not hitting that one. Tom?
Yeah, Randy, just back to your piece about the newsletter. I'd kind of like to steal that if I could. I know, we're starting to maybe plan some stuff around communication with our group. So I'd like to maybe take that and run with it as part of our work.
Absolutely. I think, I don't know if the school committee needs to vote that in, but I'd love for somebody else to take that up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. All right. Any other comments on the goals? All right. Next on to the subcommittees. The first one with any items here is finance. I know Lisa's not here, but Ms. Haynes is on. Do you want to give some background on the ban and what we need to do, or no, someone else says? Oh,
Or can you hear me okay?
yep.
It looks like my video isn't coming up though.
Looks like you're in a very dark room.
Yeah, sorry. I feel like I'm in the dark room here. So the ban renewal is for the Hawthorne Brook Squanicook septic system, which is getting close to being fully paid off. We're renewing around just over 101,000 for another year. The rates came in at 3.5% for this next year, and which is a little higher than it's been for obvious reasons. Also, that things have changed significantly in the borrowing market. We also only received one bid for this. Again, it's a small ban, so that might be part of the reason we only received one bid. We do need somebody to make a motion to approve that borrowing for the 1-year ban for the Squanicook Hawthorne Brook septic system. I don't know if there's any questions.
No question. Is the language on the agenda the correct language, Nancy?
Yes.
Then I will move that the school committee approve the sale of the $101,868 3.50% general obligation bond anticipation notes, the notes of the district dated July 15th, 2022 and payable July 14th, 2023 to Unibank for savings at par and accrued interest, if any.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? All right, seeing none. Jess,
Yes.
June,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and I will vote yes as well. So that passes. Um,
Thanks.
Thank you, Nancy. Anything with negotiations or personnel, Tom?
Nothing.
All right. On to policy, Randy.
For policy, we just have 3 policies. They've been out for a first reading for about a month or so, I think. So they are up for adopting them. And I have not received any feedback from anybody on these. So I'm assuming that nobody had any issues. So I will move that the school committee approve the following policies for adoption as presented. Policy JJH-R, student travel regulations, KF, school facility use, rental and personnel fee schedule, and KF-R1, school facility use, community use of school facilities.
Second.
All right. Any questions on the 3 policies? Seeing none. All right. So this is to approve the 3 policies, JJH-R, KF, and KF-R1 for adoption. Jess,
Yes.
June,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. So that's unanimous. And then did you want to talk about the regional agreement, Randy? We have that on the agenda, or did you want to move that to the 15th or just give an update?
I will discuss it briefly, but we are not ready to vote on that yet. So with the original agreement, we are very, very close. We've worked with the attorneys to get all of the legal language, any suggestions for what we want to do. We put together a number of proposed changes to it, and we had a community meeting. The community meeting had representatives from all 3 towns, from their government, from the community, non-parent, and some parents. Not every position was filled, but we asked for volunteers, and we had a pretty good group going. I think it was about 16 or 17 people in the meeting. We got through the entire document in about an hour and a half. So one meeting was wonderful. We got some really good suggestions and a couple of things to look at. So unfortunately, we don't have the document completed tonight because there's some things I need to look into, talk with the attorney on language. and just get it finalized. At the August 15th meeting, I will be bringing that so that the school committee can approve this so that we can send it to the state for the preliminary approval before we go through, have a public hearing, and hopefully have it at all three towns will have a fall town meeting that we can get this approved and through. And that's all I have for now.
All right, any questions for Randy? Excellent, thank you. I believe that is it for our open session. We do have an executive session item if someone would like to read the motion.
All right, hang on. I'm pulling it up right now. All right. I move that the school committee meet in executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A for the following purpose. Purpose 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, business manager. And purpose 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements. And then executive session minutes dated February 10th, 2022. There you have it.
Second.
Thank you, Tom and Randy. All right. Real quick before people drop off, does everybody have the link to the executive session meeting? And I'm asking.
It's on the calendar.
It's on the calendar. Okay, thank you. I'm looking through my email. I'm like, I'm missing it somewhere, but all right, thank you.
Calendar.
This is to enter executive session. So Jess,
Yes.
June,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. So the school committee will now be meeting in executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A for the following purpose. Purpose 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, the business manager. Purpose 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements. That's the executive session minutes dated February 10, 2022. The committee will reconvene in open session. So we will now leave this meeting and hop on over to the other one, which you'll find in your calendar. Thanks, everybody.